Peace, Sister Hood Mystic, representing hoodmystic.com. Today we are doing practical uses for universal law. This is part 9, and we are talking about becoming the architect of our desires, being the architects of our lives, being the architects of our fortune, of our love. Really taking this law of attraction and really using it as a source of sustenance, a source of growth, and not just something to talk about. I'm actually practicing the principles in my personal life and really loving the results. So generally, I'm just keeping the conversation consistent and doing the work, because I know generally us as human beings, we get caught up in the human condition and the human mindset. So generally right now I'm just going to discuss an alternative. So I'm just going to share this on my timeline and in a couple groups and get forward with the build. So first off, if we want to really change the conditions, we have to learn that it's important for us to change ourselves. And ultimately, where we are today isn't by happenstance. We are at this point because of a mind, because of a mindset, because of certain thoughts, behaviors, and actions. And if we want to change anything about our present condition, we have to alter those thoughts, behaviors, and actions, and from a different perspective. And today we're dealing with we're coming from this thing as pyramid builders and the architect of the pyramid builder. So generally, if one was to have a flawed plan or a flawed idea as to how they were going to build something, no matter how great the worker was, or no matter how great the equipment you have, and no matter how much knowledge you have on building buildings, if your architect is giving you a messed up plan, then nothing will work. And so in life, we aren't coming at this thing from an architectural perspective. We're coming at it from a worker perspective, saying that if I learn how to be the best builder, then I can make buildings. But that's not necessarily so. We have to learn how to plan. We have to learn how to take our ideas and create ideals. So first and foremost, going forward, if we really want to manifest some things, we got to remember that fear has no place in proper manifestation. And I liken it to putting yourself in a garden. And through life, you're walking through your proverbial garden, and every emotion that you have is setting a seed down. And so as you walk through every row of your proverbial garden, you either put down positive, loving seeds, or you put down negative seeds. Now, over time, you walk through your garden and things grow from previous sowings that you may have had a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so when those things come up, that is a previous thought. Now, it could have been positive, it could have been negative, but we deal with that in our present day. And the only thing that we can do about these things is knowing that, okay, life works in seasons. So it's going to be a time where harvest comes and we reap what we sow, and it's winter time, and so we have to take that time to prepare and plan for what we're planning to sow for the next spring. And so generally we just deal with the cycles of life, and we know now that we must plant positive seeds. So moving forward, the source of our power, the soil of our proverbial garden, is so abundant and so willing to offer you whatever it is that you need. But if we're not intentionally accessing that modality, and we're just focusing on being the worker, being the person that is not like God is something outside of ourselves, and we have to act a certain way to please this being that's looking down, judging us, when the truth is within us is the reality of all wealth, all health, and all love. That's what our spirit is. That's what truth is. And anything outside of all wealth, all health, all love is a lie. And so if you look at life now, our society, our lives, 9 times out of 10 are built on lies. And so the architectural plan, the blueprint for your life is a complete lie. So you being the best worker is irrelevant. You being the best person is irrelevant if you're not accessing the truth of your being on this planet. You were born in this planet through a womb with a modality, and through life, the things that happened and how you responded to it has altered that for which is truth. So in order to live a life of harmony and abundance, you actually have to access that which is within you that attracts that harmony, abundance in your life. If you are focusing on lies and fear, discord, all the things that I talk about, then you're going to be aware that you're attracting that. And it might not be today. It might be a year from now. It might be 10 years from now. So just generally being mindful. That's what actually being conscious really is really being aware of our mind and really understanding that we control our thoughts. We control our thoughts. We control our thoughts. So if you're thinking negatively, that's your choice. And you have to be mindful, and you have to be smart enough to say, I shouldn't be thinking like this at this moment because I'm sowing a seed that I'm going to later regret. So I need to alter my thoughts, and we need not to entertain that negativity. So, you could be the most powerful being on this planet, but if you are dealing with the lie, dealing with lack, dealing with discord, dealing with fear, you could be actually God on earth. But if you don't believe that, if you believe everything that's been told to you about yourself, then all that power that rests within you is completely irrelevant because you're not using it. It's like a car that you can't drive. That car is just something to look at, and that's what a lot of people end up being in life, is just something to look at, somebody to ponder, and they never really tap into what it is to be a spirit on this planet and really like waking up to their consciousness, waking up to their thoughts, because they believed everything that was told to them about themselves. Now, you could be the absolute weakest being on the planet, but if you honestly believe in the laws of the universe and practice them in your daily life, you will experience the life that you desire, because these laws are a matter of fact. They are not something that just people talk about because it sounds good. It is hard for people to accept the fact that they've been lied to. It's hard to accept the fact that everything negative that you've been attracting in your life is your fault. That's a hard thing to deal with. But if you understand that if you see healing, you manifest healing. If you see sickness, you manifest sickness. And so how you see yourself moving forward are the seeds that you plan to plant. If you see yourself as weak, then that's what you are going to become. So a lot of times in this society, a lot of times in this life, we see problems, and ultimately those problems are what we generally manifest. We generally walk into situations really thinking about what if something bad happens. That is the motivating thought in relationships to money, love, life, a job. What if this happens? What if that happens? Your relationship with your children, like, it's always that is the fear, and that is the energy that we carry as a people, because we have been programmed to see that side of life more than other people would be, and maybe not as much as people in Palestine. It may be even worse for them. So really understanding that we are brought into a world. My suggestion with this whole conundrum of life, and when speaking of law of attraction and people say, well, what about what's going on in Africa, or what's going on in China, or what's going on in the hood or the ghetto? If we were to see solutions, then we would manifest solutions. But if we see problems, that's what we'll continuously manifest. That's my just suggestion. And if we're able to see ease and prosperity in ourselves and others, and have these conversations, then maybe this could be shared to somebody in the hood, and it will alter his mindset, and he could manifest things at a high level, at a high rate, and then he'll share the knowledge. That's the whole point of the knowledge, because most people don't understand this. Most people are taught to be workers, to be designers, and what I'm speaking on is really to be the architect. And now if the architect of your life put together a flawed design, and you went into that design as the best person ever, but the design was flawed, and so all the contractors, all the foremen were top-notch, A1, and they are trying to build upon a square with a circle, and it's just looking like a mess. And that's how we approach life. We approach life by if we go to college, or if we do this, or if we do that. But ultimately, we have to learn to go into situations tapping into our inner self, our inner power. And I'm not talking, this is not like, the end all be all, because we still have to live life. But how are we approaching life? Are we approaching life from a cause to effect, or are we approaching life from effect, and never, ever taking the responsibility or taking the onus that they gotta be the cause to themselves and all of their people if that's what they want. But we cannot look at this thing as a problem. We have to start visualizing and internalizing solutions and being the solution within ourselves. So a breakdown on how we attract love, and these rules apply to money. So initially we want love, but the conscious way is that we understand that to get love, we have to give love. But we cannot give love if we have no love to give. So the only thing that we can do is to love ourselves, and love ourselves, and love ourselves, and love ourselves, so much so that we begin to be able to start to love others. And once you start to love others, you become a magnet to the love that which you give off. And see, this is the conscious way that we deal with law of attraction. This is the conscious way that we bring love into our lives. And the same ways apply to money and finances and prosperity. If we don't have any money, we have to start giving ourselves some goddamn money. We cannot be making money and give all our money away to other people. If we want money, the first thing we have to do is give it to ourselves. So we have to think positively about money and act positively about money. What's the best thing that you could give to a person? The best thing you could do is give yourself some money. And you start giving yourself more and more money, then other people will start to give you money, because that's really what the law of attraction is alerting us to. But ultimately, when we speak about this proverbial garden that we're walking through, we can't stop negative thoughts from entering our mind. Every garden has weeds. Every garden has like rodents and things of that nature. But we cannot continuously to walk along the row in the garden and drop negative thought after negative thought after negative thought after negative thought after negative thought. Like really entertaining these negative thoughts, because then when it comes back to harvest, now we got like 2 or 3 rows of negativity that we have to deal with, because at a previous time we just entertained a negative thought for so long. So we have to really be mindful. We have to really be strong in that. And that's really the work. That's really the architectural work. That's really the design work, to really designing a pyramid, or designing a garden, or designing a love life, or designing, finances to come into your life, or even hitting the lottery. All of these things, we have to start to design it and put positive energy around that which we're trying to manifest. So when it comes to harvest, we'll definitely reap what we sow. So just really finishing up, just really understanding life from a practical perspective. So I'm going to talk about a tree. A tree and its growth is not dependent on the external root. The only thing that could stop a tree from growing is if you chop it down. And so us chopping down a tree is just the negative thoughts. And after so long, if we keep looking negatively towards something, it's going to break down. But ultimately, the only thing that a tree is going to do to grow is to depend on its roots and the sustenance of the soil and things of that nature. So for us to grow, we have to deal with our roots. And to deal with our roots is to deal with our innermost, to deal with our inner spirit, and understand that the external world is not responsible in our growth. Actually, when we grow like a tree, we actually give off oxygen so the rest of the world can live. So really understanding what actually makes us grow spiritually and in life, and how we reach our greatest heights, is to dig deep and ground ourselves and really understand the spiritual nature of ourselves and our beings. We are dealing with ideas, and we are turning those ideas into ideals. An idea is a possible course of action. That is something that may or may not happen. An ideal is the perfection that our mind is constantly showing you at every moment, at every second of the day. Every time your heart beats, every time that blood flows through your body and you breathe and your lungs expand, that is showing you the perfection of your mind. So really understanding that and accessing that at any given time should always, or at least we should always try to focus on that. Simply just talking about it, it always gets me back on track. So that's why I'm consistent with these videos, because I'm like everybody else. I think about things and fall off or deal with my children or relationships or whatever the case may be. But having these conversations really inspired me to keep going. So, no, thank you. So the universal laws, finishing up, we have two universal laws to get to that deal with the concept of ideals, the concept of architecture. The first law is the law of no judgments. And so that reads as, the universal spirit does not judge us. Judgments are human inventions, a means to compare, contrast, and control as we judge ourselves against artificial and often idealistic standards of perfection, morality, or truth. Under the law of equalities, our judgments attract judgment to us in equal measure. The life karmic review conducted by yourself after death is a condition of living in duality in third dimension. So basically, you know, nobody on this world is living in such perfection that, you know, they can sit back and judge you. And like I said earlier, the external world is not dependent on your growth. Your growth is dependent that the external world could live. So ultimately, this world needs you to grow and be your best. So you cannot be looking at yourself in a way that the world simply does not. The world needs you. So really keep that in mind. The last law is the law of patience. And that reads as, Luke said, in your patience, possess ye your souls. Patience involves spiritual, mental, physical thought, and action. Through it, we learn to know ourselves, to measure and test our ideals, to use faith, and to seek understanding through all other virtues. Patience allows all other virtues to manifest more profoundly. Patiently, we realize that any fault we see in another is one we have personal knowledge of from prior experience. Patiently, we seek true understanding, not just knowledge, as we realize that every soul is totally unique and will come to its enlightenment in its own time. So, again, just understanding that a tree takes thousands of years and constantly grows and grows and grows, but is not dependent on the external world to grow. It's totally dependent on its roots and how far and how deep it can go. And the deeper it goes into the ground, the higher it can raise up in the sky. So that's just the metaphor for consciousness. The deeper we can go within, the higher we'll be able to ascend. So all of our troubles, all of our worries, can be alleviated by simply focusing on the solution, and the solution is always found within you, the perfection that rests within you. So just really keep that in mind when you're going through whatever you're going through, that your power does not come from these niggas talking shit. Your power comes from you dealing with your spirit and becoming a force, becoming so powerful that a person talking or a person believing anything about you would just simply make you laugh because they don't know the work that you put in. And so just honestly, I'm gonna continue to have these conversations because even when I'm down, I need to hear this shit. So, and I do it because I don't hear these kind of conversations on the internet. So I'm just creating what I want to hear. So I appreciate people listening and people vibing. So this is Hood Mystic, representing hoodmystic.com. It's going to be on there. I got all the notes on there too on the web post. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you share and tell people. You never know who this can help. So, you know what I'm saying? Just keep it moving, man. I'm seeing the growth in what I'm doing, and seeing the growth in my relationship and my personal life, financially. And so this is one of the toughest things for me to kind of grasp, and studying it for all these years, and still having the conversation about it and still feeling like a newbie. It's great because I realize that the more we can talk about it, the more we can help each other. So I appreciate everybody for listening, or people who's going to listen in the future. Everybody have a great and wonderful evening. Peace.